Hello everyone, happy Friday. It's Friday over here. Today is February the 7th, 2025, and I'm very happy because I've been working on this study here. As you can see, I've already been working on it for some time, and here's the reference, right? So just basic shapes that we usually have to understand when we paint or draw with pencil or oils, whatever. So I hadn't done one of these exercises in a long time. Last time I did one of these was in, I don't know, like 2016. So yeah, I am doing it, and as you can tell, it is not in black and white. By the way, I have a visitor here. This is one of my cats. She just came to say hi. Her name's Puma. She's already about to be 6 years old. So sometimes she comes here and she just wants to cuddle with me a little bit while I paint. Especially, I think she's missing some attention. So I'll have her here with me as I do this. But back to what I was saying. I hope I didn't get her full of paint. So yeah, I was working on this with raw sienna color, which is like a yellowish color, as you can see. And well, my brush is dirty, so that's not the true raw sienna, but it's basically the yellow that you see in this painting. And as I was working on it, I added some sunburned umber to darken, and the whole painting started to look too warm, which didn't look very nice. So I decided to add some blue and red to it to make it a little more interesting. So usually in the past, when I've done one of these studies, I just do them in black and white. I've done quite a few in acrylic. Also, most of the time I've done it in acrylic. That's when I was starting to learn how to paint. I would do like pyramids or prisms, cones, all those in black and white acrylic. So they would dry very quick, and I didn't mind doing it, but I always found them very boring, to be honest. I mean, I like doing them, but what bored me was using just black and white, which is okay because pretty much very often when I start a painting, I do what is called a grisaille study or painting, which is a black and white painting of what I'm about to paint. So pretty much I paint something in black and white, and then after that, first I do it in an earthy tone. So first I do it like in a burnt sienna, and then once I have a painting in an earthy tone, I go to the black and white. And I don't do this all the time, but I do it here and there. Like this one, I didn't do that. But right after I have a painting in black and white, then I start to add color to it. So the reason I do that is something my teacher taught me, to make sure you get the values correct before you add color, so that way you only think about one problem, you could say, instead of thinking and focusing on color and value, which is how dark or light it is on the painting or the subject. You can simply focus on the value first, black and white, dark versus light, and then once you have a more balanced painting, if that makes any sense, once you see all the values are in the right place, then you just add color to it that match the value, right? So what I mean by that is, like, say you have let's say this was black, right? I'm not going to add some light yellow to that because the light yellow is pretty light looking, so maybe some blue or purple or brown, a color that is in the same level of darkness as the area where you're painting. So that is one of the ways you can paint. First, you do, as I said, an underpainting with burnt umber, like an earthy tone, and then you start to do black and white on top of that, and then at the end add color. Now for this one though, in this case, I didn't do that. This one I just did, like I said, in raw sienna. And the reason why I started to add the blue and the red is because I wanted to make it more interesting and a little bit less warm. So now the important part that I'm practicing here is painting with complementary colors, right? And so for example, yellow and purple complement each other. They're pretty much colors on opposite sides of the color wheel. Red and blue make purple, so that's why I'm working with red and blue to complement the yellow. Now, if you place the purple to the side, it makes it stand out and complement each other very nice, but when you combine it, it sort of dulls or kills the color a little bit. So that's what I'm practicing right now, is just working with complementary colors using yellow and purple. So for that, the color choices I have here are raw sienna, I have ultramarine blue, and I also have alizarin crimson. Now I didn't choose a cadmium red or like a very warm red, because the point of this purple is to make the painting cooler. So if I use a warm red and I mix it with blue, I'm going to make a warmer purple than what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for a cool looking purple, and just by doing this exercise, I mean, it makes the painting a lot more fun. So as I was saying earlier, I used to get bored doing things like this, thinking, oh, I have to now paint some shapes that, I mean, I don't know if this would be considered sellable art. If you are a painter or an art appreciator, if you have ever sold or purchased a painting of basic shapes like these and forms, so comment below and let me know. I'm very curious to know if you have ever sold something like this or bought something like this. So when I painted stuff like this, I always thought, well, this is not sellable. This is not what I want to be painting. You know, I could be painting like, I don't know, like something more interesting, like, you know, anything, but shapes, like flowers, fruits, which are shapes. But in this case, we're just boiling it down to the most basic level, just painting shapes. And one thing my professor explained that is very interesting is how these shapes in general are found in most of what we paint. So there's usually 2 to 5 shapes or 6 in a painting. We're missing a triangle here. We have a cone, but we're missing some sort of like little pyramid, I would say. But generally, like if you're painting a tree, for example, it's like a triangle with a sphere, or with a cylinder, sorry. So, or if you're painting a birdhouse, it's a square, or a stick of butter, it's a rectangle, a snow cone or an ice cream cone. This is I don't know, less common shape, I would say. There are nail files that look like that, like hexagons, but it's still in the family of a cylinder, but with flat planes, right? So you could say that's some sort of cylinder. And yeah, practicing these shapes is good for you because it really, if you can master these shapes, then when you paint anything else, it's easier to understand what you're doing and how light hits each plane on a shape. So that's why I'm doing this exercise in a good mood, you could say it. I'm enjoying doing this. Whether it's sellable or not, I don't really care because this is for my own growth. So if you are learning how to paint, if you're already a painter, if you're interested in learning how to paint, I think it's really important to make sure you take time doing exercises like this, regardless of what level you are. Um, you know, it's this can be done at a masterful level. So even though the subject is very simple, very basic, the skill can be very different based on how many times or how much you paint, right? So I think it doesn't matter what level you are in, you can always challenge yourself. This is what I would call a technical exercise. Um, but also, I mean, you have to have fun with it, right? Enjoy it. So if you relate this to music, because as some of you know, my main profession is to play and teach guitar. And in music, we have things like scales, right? That a lot of students, I have a lot of students, they dread playing scales, but scales are like vitamins for you. They, if you don't know what a scale is, it's pretty much a set of tones of notes that go up or down in order, and they can be a little bland sometimes. They're not really music, but they can be musical. And even though I've been playing guitar for a while, I still practice scales and I do it all the time. And I'm still always trying to get better at playing scales. And sometimes beginner students, they get bored of it and they say, oh, that's it, that's enough scales for me. Now I'm going to play music. But not really. Everybody always, you can always keep benefiting from scales regardless of your level. You can make them as hard as you can. So make them challenging for your own skill level. So that's what I would call a technical exercise, right? And this is somewhat the same, I would say. I mean, yeah, this exercise makes you focus on the light, on the, you can have the, first of all, the drawing side of things and focus on the, what's it called, proportions. That's another thing. So drawing proportions, then you have the shapes, getting the shapes right, which are two-dimensional figures, and then the form, so giving it some sort of shadow to make that shape become three-dimensional, right? And then on top of that comes, so the values, that's part of the form, the dark and the light, where do I put it, where does it go, where is it dark, where is it light, what's the lightest light, what's the darkest dark. All of those things you can practice doing this. And then of course, if you add color, if you're not just working in black and white, then the color theory comes in, color harmony. Do I put yellow next to purple? or what color complements yellow, what happens when I put yellow and purple on top of each other, what type of blue and red should I use to make purple, things like that. Here, for example, it's called the dark against light rule or something like that, in which if you have a dark area, the other side, so like for example here is dark, so the other space or the negative space has to be light so that the two shapes can separate, right? And the opposite goes too. When you have a light shape, you have to have dark around it so that it can be clear and easy to read. So that's something else that you can practice doing this. You can practice your darks against lights, and you can just keep going forever, honestly. I mean, I'm going to stop in a little bit, and I can see how much more I can work on this. But yeah, I mean, you can keep one of these canvas on your wall. So this canvas, I don't know if you can tell, but it has like a texture on it, and I didn't buy it this way. I didn't do this on purpose. The reason is because this is the canvas where when I have leftover paint on my palette, I grab a palette knife like that and I grab the leftover and I smear it in this canvas. And every time I paint, I do that at the end just for fun to get rid of the extra paint. Muddy color sometimes just pure color. So before I painted this canvas was full of different colors and muddy colors, and it was kind of like my wipe for my palette knife. So it was looking like like an expressionist, like abstract expressionist painting, but I had no reason for it. Like I was not planning to sell it or anything like that. So this is the canvas that I use just to wipe my palette knife. So when I want to do an exercise like this, I don't really go buy an expensive canvas or anything. I would just even use like a canvas paper just for practice. But I thought, well, I have this canvas full of paint and color and all this, so I'm just gonna use this, use what I have, right? And when I first covered it with white, titanium white paint, I gave it a whole coat of acrylic white to start this. I didn't sand down the dry paint, so all of this texture that is here is from the dry paint that I had. I don't know, there maybe with the glare you can see the texture it has. So now as I'm doing this painting, I kind of like how it looks. That texture is interesting. So that's something new. That was an accident. Like Bob Ross used to say, a happy one, happy accident. So good things and bad things. One thing I learned about painting on top of an old painting or dry paint is that if your painting has texture and you do not sand down your previous painting before you decide to paint over it, then you're going to have to deal with filling up the ridges that the texture creates, the ridges. Maybe you paint down, and to fill it up you have to paint up into the different sides to cover up all those like white parts. So that's a little annoying, it takes a little time, but and in the end I'm liking how it looks, the result. It looks, the little texture that it has. Maybe I'll do this in the future on purpose. But yeah, that's one con about painting on a surface with a texture, is that you have to paint in different directions to cover that texture. But the good thing is that in the end it's kind of looking nice. Like I like how maybe from too close too far you cannot see the texture, but once you get close to it, it starts to look interesting. I like to see paintings with texture. So yeah, if you have a spare canvas that you don't like, or a canvas with a hole in it, like a little hole or something, a canvas that you maybe want to throw away, or I don't know, a painting that you did that you hate after time, then maybe use that one and do one of these studies. So anything to sort of get you working on one of these. And in the end, I'm going to put this on my wall and I'm going to look at it and enjoy it. And in the future, if I feel like I want to keep working on it, I'll pull up this picture and start working on it. So it can be a long project for you to see how good can you get the painting, how good can you make it. That is a true challenge. How good can you make it? Maybe what's good for you now, in a year or two, you're gonna look at it and say, oh, I don't like how X part looks, and you'll have to grab it and take it off the wall and work on it, and like that, just develop your technique with time. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but treat it more like a learning experience. So yep, I'm liking how sometimes the blue and the yellow mix and they create a little green. So that's an extra. And I'm going to have to stop very soon, so I'm just gonna work over here. I see it's very heavy on the blue and red, the purple color. So I'm going to add some yellow to have some atmospheric look, the effect of a background here, just tone it down. So we don't want it to be, sometimes as I paint I look at it and oh, that looks too blue, that looks too yellow, too purple, etc. I just want it to blend nicely. And sometimes it's good to just kind of follow your instinct, because in the end we're just painting, and just try to paint to please your eye. So if you're happy with how your painting is looking, then great. There's no rules. If somebody tells you your painting doesn't look nice, but you love how it looks, then so what? It's your painting, so you do what you like with it. Obviously, it's good to accept criticism, but don't beat yourself up too hard and enjoy the process. Have fun, and experiment, and just keep doing it as much as you can. So some of you might say that I'm blending too much and oh, it's looking muddy or something, but it's just an experiment. See, we learn something from every single painting. And this is what is this? 16 by 20 size canvas. I could have chosen to do like a smaller one for this, but I really wanted to also challenge myself to paint on a large area quickly. So like here, for example, where the yellow of the sphere meets the background, I'm really trying to make sure that there's some purple next to it so that they complement each other nicely. And same goes for this side where there's purple. I want to see yellow on the other side, just so they're next to each other as much as possible. I could continue to develop this painting into maybe like add some highlights to it in the lightest parts of the painting. But I'm also trying to limit here's another challenge. I'm trying to limit the amount of colors I use. So I'm just working with what I have right now. And also limit the amount of paint brushes that I use. So right now, I've just been using this paintbrush for pretty much the whole painting. I haven't used a smaller one of details, none of that stuff. So like that, and quick, trying to go quick. That is an issue. Sometimes I slow down a little, so I need to push myself to keep going quick. And as I sit here and the longer I do it, I start to loosen up my brush work. So that's, I think, I'm just going to cover up this part of this cube like that, a little darker. And right here, there's points in the canvas where I can see through, and I don't want to see like any light parts in places where there should be dark paint. So something like that. I don't know. There's a lot more that can be done to this painting. But okay, I'm about to stop now, so I'm just doing here what I can quickly. I'm going to stop in about less than 5 minutes. So maybe that's why you see that I'm kind of rushing here, because I have to go. I have to leave right away. So for how long do you paint? I'm wondering, if you paint, do you do 2 hours, 4 hours, half hour a day, something like that? I tend to do about 3 to 6 hours at a time. You can call me intense, but usually the best for me is about 4 hours per session. So yep. Usually after 30 minutes or 1 hour, my hand is when it really starts to loosen up and move around and more freely. So I need some time to sort of warm up. Here I cannot see very good because of the glare of the light. So I would have to stand up and move my light and continue painting there, but I'm not going to do that because I need to go. So they always say that, and then I keep going. Then I'm late. So I have to make sure that I keep an eye on the clock here. Okay. I think for now, that's as far as I'll take it. You see white here, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. I'll do it because I don't want to be staring at it every day and then getting annoyed by that white part. right there, so I have to force myself to fill it up before I stop, because I don't want to be staring at blank canvas right here. So there we go. Better? So these in no way are final touches. Just need to stop. So you might be getting annoyed that I keep saying I'm going to stop and I keep going, but that's about it. There, done for the day. So I hope this inspires you to give it a try. Draw some shapes, draw some forms, practice values, practice color, proportion, all of those things. Until the next time, bye bye.